Guys and dolls, Freedom Dad here, and I'm in Bangor. It's wet and it's cold, and I'm here with the guys that have been doing this for 2 years. 2 years standing outside this hotel to protest about irregular and undocumented men that are coming into this country. So what the government are doing is they're moving the men out and they're replacing them with the women, trying to change the optics of it. But we do have evidence that there's still men in this hotel. But whether there's men in this hotel or women in this hotel or not, it doesn't matter. These men, it's not actually about the hotel. It's bigger than this hotel. It's bigger than the people that's in this hotel, to be honest with you. It doesn't matter if it's women in this hotel or who's in this hotel. You know, at the end of the day, there's illegal immigrants coming into this country and they're undocumented, and there's evidence of what we're seeing in England, of what's going on. 200,000 children, 50 cities up and down the breadth of England have been affected by grooming gangs, by men who have come into this country who are not here to do the jobs we don't want to do. They're not here, like, you know, to integrate and to, you know, enjoy what we've got, enjoy our culture. You know, a lot of immigrants come to this country to get away from the pressures of some of the Muslim countries like Afghanistan, Syria, and these other places. And you know, they come here to find a peaceful life and to get away from the extremes of Islam. And now we're bringing in the extremes of Islam. And, you know, I say that quite confidently. I say that with proof, with receipts. Come on. All right, buddy. 1, 2, 3, 4. I say that with proof and with receipts. You know what I mean? There's evidence of everything going wrong. These guys are not integrating. They're not here to do the jobs we don't want to do. They're here to take what they can get, you know. And, you know, we see with the churches, and we see with the schools, and we see with our king, you know, how overwhelming Islam can be. And Bangor, Northern Ireland, is a Christian country, and our schools are Christian countries, and we've got our own problems with Protestants and Catholics, you know what I mean? And we're at a point now where we are seeing peace and we are trying to come together, because there's a common denominator. We're all Christians. You know what I mean? There's no two ways about it. As you can see, there's a police presence as always. They'll be taking photographs and all the rest of it, you know, because it's a serious game, this. But, you know, I want to give these men the credit that they deserve, you know. 2 years they've been doing this non-stop, 2 years, every Friday. Look at the weather. It's absolutely pissing down, you know what I mean? And I want to say this, for starters, to the people of Bangor. You should be down here backing these men up no matter the weather. And I know some of you think it's not worth it. I will cover that. I will get a chance, and I will get a chat with some of the boys after this, and I'll put it all together, you know, and we'll ask them, is it worth it? Why do they keep on doing it? And what any long-term goals, etc., etc. So, yep, more to come, guys. Okay, Freedom Dad here, and I'm with the legend Richard and man, and I'm just going to ask a few questions for our channel, for my community, because I know you all love him just like I do. So Richard, can you tell us why you're here?
Yeah, we've been doing this for about two years now, and it's really just local men and women that are concerned about what's happening in the town. And we're here because what's happened is that hotel that's behind us, you see over my shoulder, that used to be one of the top hotels in the town, right? And unfortunately, the guy that owns it took the filthy lucre, and he's crammed it full of migrants. Now, it used to be, when we started doing this, it was male migrants, right? At the minute, we don't know who's in there. We think it's a mix, maybe some males and some females. We're not exactly sure. Probably, it doesn't really matter, to be honest with you, who's in there. The reality is that what we're having is people imposed on our community that we don't know anything about the background. We don't know where they've come from. We don't know what they're doing here. We don't know how they got here. And of course, it destabilises the whole community when you have things like this happening. Now, don't get me wrong, we're not against the people that are coming to the hotels.
Yeah.
If they come here legally,
Yeah.
we don't have a problem.
Yeah, of
but what
course.
we are against is people coming to the country illegally, unvetted, and that we don't have a clue what their intentions are.
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm from England. I've done a lot of work with Tommy on the grooming gangs, etc. And what we're worried about is something like that taking hold in this town. And we're concerned about our children, our grandchildren, and what the future of Northern Ireland is. Because Northern Ireland's a very small place.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And it doesn't take a lot of people to come into
counties, yeah.
6 counties. It doesn't take a lot of people to come into Northern Ireland to destabilise it.
Yeah.
And we've had enough problems as it is. I've lived here 40 years. You know, I came here with the army. I know what it's like when we had trouble in this country.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And what we don't want is that trouble happening.
Yeah, yeah.
And even in this town last week, there was some sort of hassle with what seemed to be we believe there were Somali migrants that are living somewhere.
Bangor Beach. Yeah, I've seen that.
We think they're from Belfast. We don't know exactly because you know there's a lot of rumours, and I actually need to get talking to one of the people that was there and do an interview with him to find out exactly what happened.
I think he's
So we'll find out. We'll find out what happened.
If you can get me in contact with him as well.
Sure,
I'd appreciate that.
yeah.
Can I just say just to jump in? So do you think what they've done with moving men out, because they've moved men to another hotel in Belfast, is that a tactic from the government?
Oh, absolutely. We think it's deliberate because what they want to do is try and make us look like we're victimising women who are in that hotel. Now, if there's vulnerable women in that hotel, what we're against is those women. How did those women get here? Were those women trafficked here?
Yeah.
Are they vulnerable women?
Yeah.
What are they doing here? Where have they come from? What are the backgrounds? So all we want is answers, and nobody has come and spoke to us that's involved in the trafficking. And let's get it right. The government is involved in the trafficking of these.
100%.
Nobody's come and explained to this group of people here who they are, why they're here, and what their agenda is. And that's all we want. We just want transparency, we want truth, and we haven't got it. Now I know from speaking to people off the record, when the men were in there was men from Afghanistan, there was men from Somalia, there was men from Iraq. Now every single one of those places are a hotbed of Islamic terrorism. So who are those people? And I think it's quite within our rights to basically ask those questions and ask what they're doing here. Now, if those women in there are women that have been victims of abuse or rape or terrorism, well, then it would be nice for someone to come and actually tell us who they are and what they're doing here, because we're not against women. We're not standing against women. We think the government definitely did it deliberately to basically discredit what we're doing and delegitimise our protests. And these protests have been peaceful. We've never harassed the people in the hotel. We've never even raised a voice. We haven't shouted. We haven't done anything. Right? So we've just stood outside every single Friday, had a peaceful protest. Normal people from Bangor, businessmen, Christians, men and women coming down to say what's happening in our town. And we've been demonised by the media. We've been demonised by the last MP, Stephen Farry, called us racists. Right? And far right. There's not a racist bone in any of these people's bodies. Many have got mixed race family. I've got mixed race family.
That's a weapon that they use against us.
Of course it is. And at the end of the day, you get bored of being called that. The bottom line is we have a massive problem with immigration in Northern Ireland, in the Irish Republic, and in the UK. We are getting absolutely flooded. Right? And if you go to London, I mean, I don't know if you've been to London lately, but if you go down to London and you see the demographics in London and what's happening in London.
Don't need to go to London, Glasgow.
Wait, Ballyholme Beach.
Ballyholme Beach, So can so basically, it doesn't matter if there's women or if there's men. The whole protest is bigger than this hotel, isn't it?
Of course. It's about bringing people, right? What we've built here is a little community, right? People from all sorts of different backgrounds. There's all sorts of people. There's ex-army people here. There's veterans. There's ex-police come down here. So it's really the community. There are almost a lot of them are old fellas like me. You know what I mean? But we're part of this community. I've lived here 40 years, like I say, and I care about Northern Ireland. I care about the people in Northern Ireland as much as I care about people in England. And this is on my turf. This is in the town that I live in. And as far as I'm concerned, I'll stand here as long as it takes to get answers. We're not saying we don't know who the people are. And that's the problem. Nobody has been transparent about who the people are. We don't know who these women are. And all we want is people to come down and talk to us. But nobody's talking to us. Nobody's telling us what's going on. And to me, that's a dereliction of duty by the authorities. And because we have a right to know who's living in our town. And are they a danger to our children? Are they a danger to our wives? Are they a danger to our grandchildren? And I think that's a fair question to ask. And what we're doing, we're building communities. With an event that's I think happening on the 27th of April. Yeah, 27th of April up in Belfast.
Yes, I'm going to be there. Yeah.
We'll be going up to that.
Yeah.
I was at the last one filming for Tommy's team. So we've got to take all that's happening in our country seriously, because what's happening in England and what's happening in the Republic of Ireland, it is coming to Northern Ireland. People have got to wake up to it.
Yeah.
You know?
And I totally agree. So 100%, and that's why I'm here. I'm wanting to locate back to Northern Ireland with my wee daughter, and I don't want this country to look like Scotland. I don't want to look like England. You know what I mean? We do not want mosques, our churches being taken over by mosques, because when you bring these people into this country, you have to give them some of the pray, and we don't have the spaces. We've got enough problems with Protestants and Catholics right now without having to worry about trying to find mosques for Muslims. But wait, so with that said, Richard, you've been here for how long?
Well, I've been here 40. Well,
no, not doing this. Sorry,
doing this. Yeah, we've been here for 2 years. We're doing this for 2 years.
2 years, and the day it's pissing down and it's really cold, are you ever going to stop?
No. We're not going to stop until we get answers. What we want is answers about what's happening with migration in Northern Ireland, and what's the intention of Stormont. I've spoken to Jim Allister about this. I've been up and met Jim Allister. I've spoken to Alex Easton, and they're on site. They're on site. They know what we're doing, and they know why we're doing it. And they can't support us openly, but they do support what we're doing. When I've spoken to them off the record. So, and there are other local politicians support what we're doing. But when you've got the likes of the Alliance Party, last time we did a demo outside City Hall, right? The ex-leader of the IRA was in the crowd, right? Standing next to a man who said Mosul was the most peaceful city on earth. Now, when that man made that statement, Mosul was in the middle of slaughter by ISIS, where Christians and Yazidis and Kurds were getting butchered by ISIS terrorists. Let's get it right. And also fellow Muslims that didn't bow down to their creed. That's the sort of people that Sinn Féin IRA are breaking bread with, right? They're breaking bread with men like that man who said that Mosul was the most peaceful city on earth when it was under the control of ISIS. Now that means that those parties have those parties have massive questions to answer, and the Alliance Party are no better. We did a demo in 2018 at City Hall, and we had Protestant and Catholics. See one thing about our demos, right? You'll have a Union Jack, you'll have a tricolour, you'll have a red of Ulster, and you'll actually have a Republican flag. We're okay with that. Because there's people coming together, right, from loyalists and Republican communities. There's no problem. And by the way, I'm not organising demos. I'm
of course, I know that. Of course.
But people that go up there, it's very much people-led, it's very much grassroots, it's not organised by unions, it's not organised by political parties, it's not organised by Sinn Féin IRA, it's not organised by the Alliance Party, it's organised by normal people on the ground, grassroots people who are sick of it, because the nationalist communities will suffer just as much as the loyalists and unionist communities. And do you know what? The thing about it is, those people that are in charge of the Republican community, they do not care about their people.
So let me just. So basically, we have a situation in Northern Ireland where the Republican movement have got a connection with the Palestinian Liberation Organisation from the PLO from the 80s, and for some reason, it's a romanticism of time, a long time ago. Now, what would take? They are opening their doors to Islamists. What's your message to the Catholic community who aren't happy with the Republican stance and Sinn Féin stance, by the way, of their position with Islam?
Our movement's non-sectarian in terms of what we are.
But there's Catholics out there that aren't happy with what's going on in their communities.
That's what I say. Our movement's non-sectarian. So what we want, we're inviting Roman Catholics to join with Protestants, just Christians. Christians standing together. Catholic and Protestant Christians standing together, non-violently, peacefully, voicing our opinion. Everything I've done in all my activism has been promoting non-violence, because I've seen what terrorists can do and the damage they can do. Because when I first came to the country, the British Army in 1987, I saw the damage that the IRA were doing. I saw I had them try to kill me on 2 occasions. I had friends killed, so I know what those rats can do, right? When they're let off leash. And what we're trying to do in England particularly is keep everything peaceful, because I believe England's a tinderbox. We saw what happened last August with the riots after those wee girls were butchered by that, and he was a terrorist. I mean, people keep forgetting that. Axel Rada, whatever his name is, Axel was a terrorist, right? Now, whether he was an Islamist terrorist, we don't know, but he was certainly a terrorist. He was making rice in
three times to prevent. He was
exactly
3 times he was thinking to prevent.
So that's what we're dealing with in England. And when that was happening, me and Tommy and all the other people who had influence over that movement were saying, don't riot, don't get involved in it, walk away from it, because all you're going to do is end up in prison cells or a body bag, right? And that's still my position, right? That we've got to do this peacefully. We've got to do it in a Christian way. We've got to follow Christ. We've got to love our enemies. We've got to love our neighbours. And that means that we don't attack people and we don't get involved in violence. But it doesn't mean that we don't take a stand, and that's what we're doing here. We're taking a stand against something that's clearly wrong and clearly bad for our country. And the other thing about, you talk about the Republican movement being in cahoots with the Palestinian Authority.
Hamas.
Well, this is the thing. Palestinian Authority in the West Bank and that area, and obviously it's Hamas in the Gaza Strip, right? So we're talking about genocidal terrorist organisations that have it in their charter to kill all Jews. Right?
Correct,
That's what we're talking about with Hamas, a genocidal terrorist organisation. The Republicans, and not just the Republicans, other left-wing and so-called progressive parties and groups in the whole of Ireland, north and south, are joining with them. They are anti-Semitic. There's the anti-Semitism in the Israeli embassy in Dublin is now closed. It's closed. Right? Now, when I was brought up, my parents taught me about the Holocaust. I've loads of Jewish friends. My Jewish friends in England are getting ready to leave. Because what they believe could come,
of course, right? I don't understand why there's any Jewish people in London. It must be absolutely terrifying for them.
Well, the ones I've said, the Jews are not easily frightened, because a lot of those lads that they've served in the IDF and they've been through all this before, so they're not going to go quietly. But the reality is, a lot of my Jewish friends are very, very worried about the future in the UK, and that is a scandal. And in Ireland is the most anti-Semitic country on earth.
That's good. It's looking that way.
And that is shocking.
Tommy Robinson, there's a lot been happening in England, so there has. We've had to carry on in Frankfurt with the prison officers being attacked, and we've now had these Islamic extremists getting moved over. Tommy, is that concerning for you?
It's very concerning, because look, at the end of the day, what it's done, quite apart from anything else, it's meant that Tommy's privileges that he had have now been taken away. So because they've put these nutcases in, and they must be in a block, I don't know, are they in a block close to Tommy? I'm not exactly sure.
This is what I worry about is because I've been in the prisons in Longcash and Crum, and Billy Wright was unalived in the maze, and there was collusion with the government. There's definitely proof of that. So are you concerned that that this has all happened maybe for a reason, and these are Deans or Smearn are around Tommy now?
I think the state should be very concerned. Because I think if anything happens to Tommy, I think the country will explode. I'll be honest with you. So and I don't condone that. I don't want to see that happen.
Of course.
But I think if anything happens to Tommy Robinson in prison, the country will burn. And that would be a disaster for the nation. So the government needs to be very careful in the duty of care that it exercises over protecting Tommy, because we don't want our country to go up in flames. If a man that's in prison for a non-violent offence gets murdered in prison, that would be a disaster for the country. And I don't see any other outcome than chaos.
We've already lost a couple of patriots in prison already due to very scrupulous circumstances. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to go into it, but Richard, it's been great talking to you. Thanks for this cold and wet, and I'd love to get a wee chappy, like a proper wee podcast sometimes. I'm trying to get more equipment and everything, but sometime in the future I'd love to sit
Well, listen, I just want to say, Freedom Dan's been doing a great job.
Thanks,
I've been following his channel. My wife loves this guy, right? She follows this channel all the time. So
don't you make me blush?
She's away bowling tonight with my daughter. But if she wasn't away bowling, I'd have had her down here meeting Mark. But we'll get that arranged. We'll get that arranged for another day. We'll get that arranged for another day.
You make me blush.
But you're doing a great job, Mark.
Thanks,
keep it up, brother.
Thank you so much.
Right. God bless you.
Thank you, mate. So I'm just going to take a wee walk around and let you see all the guys that are here, and all the effort is put in, guys. You know what I mean? So we're just standing on the road here. It is miserable. These guys are here every week, every Friday for 2 years. Look at the weather. Look at the weather. 2 years, guys, every Friday. Why is there not more people down here? You know what I mean? At the end of the day, guys, if you're Christian and if you've got children, you should be down here with these guys, and it's not a scare tactic, you know what I mean? It's not misinformation. You've just got to look at England. You've just got to see what's going on in England, the churches that are getting turned into mosques, because it's not about not wanting people to come here, but we can't accommodate them. We can't keep turning our churches in the mosque just to keep these people happy. You know what I mean? We don't have their room, we don't have their resources, and we certainly can't keep giving them all this money from our social benefits. So I'm Freedom Dad, and I'm in Bangor reporting on some of the bravest men and women that I've met in a long time. God bless.